The college football playoff continues, and Notre Dame and Penn State find themselves pitted against each other. It's going to be a fun matchup, and today we take a look at how Notre Dame can beat Penn State. This is a team that I think a lot of people counted out early in the season. The loss to Northern Illinois was very stunning, and a loss that I think a lot of people just gave up on the Irish and didn't expect much from them. But the nice thing about a 12-team playoff is that you're truly not out of it, even if you lose a game early on. Now, obviously, that loss is still a bad loss, but this is a team that hasn't played like that since. They have played really well down the second half of the season, and they have played really well in the college football playoff. This is a team that, again, a lot of people, I think, had some concerns about Notre Dame coming into the season. Those concerns escalated when you looked at that Northern Illinois loss, and I think a lot of people just expected them to be left out. But fortunately for them, a schedule that was, I don't want to say weaker, but definitely didn't challenge them as much, allowed them to build some confidence, and that has helped them in the college football playoff. You saw it against Indiana. You saw it a lot against Georgia, and this is a team that is ready to show that they are a national title contender. Penn State is obviously going to provide some challenges, and you know that this game is close because Notre Dame is currently a 1.5 point favorite, and that's going to speak volumes to both of these teams, their success so far this year, and it'll be fun to see how these two teams stack up. Now, if you're Notre Dame, you're looking at certain things that you need to do well, and those are our keys to the game. The first thing is going to be finding an answer for Tyler Warren. You could also make an argument that you need to find an answer for the running game, but Notre Dame probably doesn't actually need to find an answer for the running game. This is a team that's been very good against the run. You saw that against both Georgia and Indiana. They essentially took Indiana's rushing attack away, and this is a team that's ready for this challenge. So finding an answer for Tyler Warren is probably the biggest challenge that they face. Tyler Warren is a unique player who has great size, has a bright future in the NFL, and he's provided some challenges to the teams that at Penn State has faced. He provided a challenge to SMU. He provided a challenge to Boise State, and Penn State is definitely going to find ways to get him the football. It's just a matter of how they do that. Andy Koltnicki has a bunch of different options to get him the ball as a tight end, as a quarterback, as a running back, whatever they need to line him up as. They are going to find ways to get him the football, and that's going to be really exciting to watch if you're a Penn State fan. But for Notre Dame, you have to find ways to combat that. His frame is going to be difficult, and you saw, what he could do against Boise State. Penn State kind of struggled against the Broncos, and Tyler Warren was kind of the really the X factor that changed things for them, and that was really interesting. It was really fun to see if you're a Penn State fan, but that's really where Notre Dame must start their focus. Testing Drew Aller is going to be a thing too, because we talked about the running game. Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton are going to do their thing. Testing Drew Aller is going to be a big way that Notre Dame gets this in their favor, that finds a way to get momentum in their favor. And Drew Aller is a talented player, but he's also not without flaw. And Boise State did a really good job of doing this, and now you're giving them a more talented defense to face in Notre Dame. I think that they can provide some different challenges for Drew Aller. Marcus Freeman, Al Golden, those two are going to come up with a really good game plan that'll make him earn it. And if he does earn it, which he did against Boise State had a really good game plan for Penn State. It's just that they were the less talented team. And also Drew Aller made some really good throws. Sometimes that's going to happen. But if you can make him make mistakes more than he makes those good throws, Notre Dame's going to be in business. It's not really going to be that much of a challenge if Drew Aller is struggling to throw the football. And this is a team that is very good against the run, and a lot of that has to do with the battle in the trenches. On both sides for Notre Dame, this is going to be a tough test. This is going to be one of those games where you just have to bring it. And Notre Dame has done that a lot this year. They have done a really good job of competing in the trenches, even with injuries. You lose Riley Mills going into the Georgia game. That hurts. But Howard Cross has been playing at times where we've seen him in the past. You've seen kind of the other guys step up. And this is a group that in Notre Dame in general, in the trenches, that has risen to the occasion on both sides. Penn State against Boise State averaged just 2.7 yards per carry. That is something that you're looking at maybe replicating if you are at Notre Dame. They kept Boise State to 2.7, and so that's going to be something for this offensive line for Notre Dame to figure out. Coincidentally, Notre Dame is also very good at stopping the run. They held Georgia to 2.1 yards per carry. So Notre Dame's offensive line has their work cut out for them. Notre Dame's defensive line is going to make sure that Penn State has to earn it. They are going to put in a lot of work to get this offense to earn their yardage and to move the ball down the field. I think the best thing for Notre Dame that we've seen so far this year is that adversity has hit them time and time again. Not just the Northern Illinois loss, but you lost some O linemen. You lost some D linemen as the season has gone on. And all they have done is battled back. They have risen to the occasion. The backups have stepped up. And that's something that can help you, especially in this tournament. This is the best of the best. This is where you have to beat good teams. And part of that is going to be facing adversity. And I think that we saw maybe for some teams for the first time, they faced some true adversity. They faced a team that is better than them, that put them behind the eight ball, and they didn't know how to respond to that. Notre Dame's not one of those teams. Notre Dame is one of those teams that has dealt with this all year, so nothing is going to be too big for them. It's just going to come down to execution and if they have enough talent to compete with what Penn State brings to the table. So there's some big keys for Notre Dame, but those are keys that are going to either be the reason they lose the game or ensure that they're going to win. And this is a team that is playing with a ton of confidence. So you put all those keys together with the players that they have, and you feel pretty good about where Notre Dame can go in terms of winning this football game. Now, if you're looking at who you need to stop for Penn State, the players to watch for Penn State, there's a ton of them. And I think the biggest question that I have right now is a guy who's not on those lists. What is Abdul Carter's status? Abdul Carter is the biggest threat to Notre Dame in this game, if he's healthy. He was hurt for the Boise State game, and it's a game where it was close. It wasn't like they were holding him out. It was a game that they needed to fight to win for most of the game, and if he was healthy, they would have put him back in. So the fact that he was out maybe says something about the nature of the injury. We will see, obviously, what happens when it comes time. In college football, you don't necessarily need to provide an injury report, so we don't really know what we're going to get. But if he plays, Notre Dame has to figure out a way to slow him down, and I'm sure that Marcus Freeman and Mike Denbrock are going to figure out a way to work together to how do we negate him? How do we slow him down? Katron Allen is having a really good postseason. Same with Nicholas Singleton. They both had pretty good games. Katron Allen, 17 carries for 134 yards, averaged 7.9 yards per carry. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do to slow him down. Nicholas Singleton, 7.3 yards per carry. Drew Aller, like I said, 13 of 25 wasn't great. 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. It speaks to Boise State definitely had a good game plan for him, but he also at times made some really good throws. And throwing to a guy like Tyler Warren is going to make that a little bit easier. But that's something that Notre Dame must figure out. How do you figure out how to slow him down? How do you get this offense in third and long situations? How do you ensure that they're not going to move the football on the ground? This is Notre Dame front seven that is very good at slowing teams' rushing attacks down. So this will be a fun matchup to watch just for that fact alone. The defense for Penn State, even without Abdul Carter, Amin Vanover stepped up in a big way. I think that he is a potential problem, has a really good frame. Danny Dennis-Sutton is another guy to keep an eye on. It'll be interesting to see how these teams combat each other on the line of scrimmage, and it'll be interesting to see what Notre Dame has in store to keep their offense going and to ensure that Penn State isn't moving the ball on them as well. Now for Notre Dame, the players to keep an eye on, when you came into this game against Georgia, you kind of knew who you were going to expect, but there are a couple guys that stepped up in a big way, and that speaks to the depth of Notre Dame. Riley Leonard, obviously everybody knows him. A solid game, it was very competitive. It was an absolute battle, and they just found a way to win. Riley Leonard is a competitor. He is a gamer that is just going to find ways to win a football game, and we saw that against Georgia. Now, everyone kind of expected Jeremiah Love to be the go-to guy, but Notre Dame kind of struggled to run the football. Jadarian Price was the leading rusher with 10 carries for 37 yards, and that's, sometimes that's going to happen. Georgia had a really good defensive line, really good linebackers, and sometimes you just have to find ways to win. They did exactly that. Jordan Faison, not as good of a game in this one, but Still 4 catches for 46 yards. I think I expect him to be a little bit more of a factor, especially if they can't run the football. It'll be interesting to see how this offense responds to Penn State's defense. The defense, Jack Kaiser, we all know what he can do. He stepped up in a big way. RJ Open had a big sack that led to a momentum changing play. Leonard Moore, a young player who is really going to step up big for Notre Dame in the long run. And again, this is a Notre Dame team that has dealt with its share of injuries, even on the back end. Benjamin Morrison is out, and guys like Leonard Moore have stepped up. That's been kind of the biggest thing, that they have stepped up in a big way. They've fought through adversity, and they know how to win football games. And it doesn't matter if it's a college football playoff game. It doesn't matter if they're bouncing back from a really tough loss at home. This is a Notre Dame team that is ready to face adversity. They are ready to battle. They are ready to compete, and that is a big reason why they can win this game. It's going to be tough. Penn State is really good, but Notre Dame is playing with that confidence, and they have the ability to battle through adversity to win a game, even if things aren't going perfect.